Welcome, my friend, to Next Level Change Success. I'm Therese, a change strategist and practitioner with over 20 years of experience designing and delivering impactful change programs across various industries. In this podcast, I share real-world practical strategies to help you create and deliver positive change experiences, whether you're a leader, practitioner, or someone looking to bring new ways of working to life. In today's fast-paced world, change is constant. Here we focus on how you can put people at the centre of your change strategy, because people with a sense of purpose are the most important link in driving performance. So if you're ready to create meaningful change and achieve all the success that comes with it, keep listening. Together, let's change the conversation and take it to the next level. Hello. My name is Therese and I am the founder of myvirtualchangemanager.com. I'd like to acknowledge that I am recording on Therese country today and pay my respects to the traditional owners and custodians on the land on which I am recording, and to elders both past, present and emerging. So today I want to talk about the change process and the purist method that can come into play, and why that doesn't work when it comes to change. And I hear this often in organisations where there might have been a change practitioner who's gone in, tried to work with the organisation, but taken a purist mindset into that organisation. And what I mean by that is a change practitioner who wants to dot all I's, cross all T's, go through the process because that's what they've been taught from a methodology perspective, and they're unable to flex to the needs of the organisation. And they've found it difficult, they've found it very frustrating, and have not been able to deal with the pushback or the resistance from the business and come to a common understanding and a common ground to be able to move forward. And I see this often in organisations, and mainly it's because change maturity in organisations is not found oftentimes in any organisation, quite frankly. They'll be lucky to have a PMO, so sometimes bigger organisations will have a project management office. They might have a change management office as part of that PMO, and then have change practitioners in that. They then go out and engage with the business, and the business will still resist because the business doesn't understand change management typically. The business is very immature in its change journey. It knows there might be a sponsor, an executive sponsor who knows that they want change management on the project, but then when looking and dealing with subject matter experts or operational leaders within the business, it's very difficult to take them through that journey if you're trying to explain what it is that you're doing without just doing it and meeting the needs of the project sponsor. So a couple of things I want to talk about there. One is that if you go to myvirtualchangemanager.com, you will be able to complete a quiz about enterprise maturity in the change that you're, or the organisation that you're working in. And it's worth doing that test, I guess, or quiz, and looking at the outcome as to where your organisation or where the organisation that you're assessing is up to. And I talk about some of the activities that a change person could do in that organisation to move the maturity along the spectrum. Any organisation that then starts to introduce change training, starts to introduce change leadership training, or even integrating the concept of change and leadership of change into any leadership program helps to promote that narrative and helps to loosen the shackles that people might have from a mindset perspective about whether change and change managers are of value or not in that organisation. When you're looking at major investment in projects or programs, it is better to have obviously change as part of that major investment. It will help because typically in those organisations there may not be that change capability within the leadership cohort and no capacity for the business as usual managers, leaders to actually be able to develop, manage and transact on the change when it's of such a large scale. So obviously when there's a lot more investment happening on major projects or programs, change managers will come in. Even then, they might struggle when working with the business around the change side of things. If the leaders and especially the project sponsor isn't working closely with the change manager to get the right level of engagement across the business. So coming in, therefore, and having a purist approach where you're looking to step through every tool, every template. Okay, we're doing a stakeholder analysis today, and this is what I wanted to take you through, how I've analysed the stakeholders in the project or program. Most business sponsors are not going to care about that. Impact assessment. I just want to do this impact assessment. Here's the heat map, etc., etc. For them, they don't care about the impact assessment. They care about the change and comms plan that you are putting together to support the change as it's going through its different phases. They will care about whether they've heard about the project, whether there's comms happening about the project or the change itself, whether people are engaged with it, because if you're sponsoring a piece of work, that sponsor is going to care about the opinions of their peer group and the perception of their project or program. So some change managers may resist putting together comms packs, briefing packs for leaders, and that is where you will fail if you're taking that approach of, no, I need to understand the change to the nth degree before I can communicate it, or we need to have a timeline so that I can communicate it. No, you don't actually need a timeline. You need to put together the initial pack, test that thinking, and know that you're going to iterate that pack through the entirety of the program as more and more things become clear. But at the beginning and origins of a project or a piece of work, as a change practitioner, you want to start to pull together the messaging, test that messaging with the sponsor or leader, test that messaging with the groups who are going to be impacted. And the only way you can do that is to start transacting on it. So if you're a purist, or if you are a person who does not deal well with uncertainty, so you need absolute clarity before you can take action, you will struggle in this discipline, or struggle as a change manager. And I don't recommend that you actually go in and have a career in change management, because those who thrive are those who can deal with the uncertainty and accept it, those who will blend in where the business is up to from its change maturity perspective, and understand that over 3 or 4 deployments of change that you can continually iterate and improve and gradually put in little checkpoints. You could gradually put in feedback surveys. You could gradually put in readiness checks. And that may not be something that you can achieve the first time around, but it's something that you can build upon. And certainly once you've worked with some various teams within the project context, they begin to trust you, they want you on the projects, and then you can influence around how to gradually improve the change method or the change approach that you take through learning what works, what doesn't work, not just with your stakeholders, but definitely even with the people who are impacted. And it's just a game of continuous improvement. So having had a lot of experience through a lot of different changes in a lot of different organizations, the one thing I will say is that you will come unstuck if you don't deliver and if you don't support the project if it's in full flight or if it's gaining momentum. If you're still working on your tools and your assessments and things like that, whilst all of that has a purpose and credibility, sometimes you're more reliant on your experience to get a change across the line than you are on the documentation. Sometimes it could be sitting more in your head than it is on a page, and you have to be okay with that. But then definitely as you're finding those little lulls or downtime through delivering change, that's when you go and you fill out those sheets. You make sure that you've got it documented so that at the end of the program you have that foundational set or plan that you can refer back to and that can be there for future change managers or future change practitioners who may be dealing with a similar type of change. So it is important to document. It just means that sometimes you don't get the luxury of documenting it through the change itself. Sometimes that's more towards the end of the project or program. And you have to be okay with that. Because if you're a purist and you say, no, this is not the right way to do this, I'm sorry, but the reality of business is that it needs to keep moving, and it will move without you. And you could take a moral stance on it, and you could say, no, I don't think this is the right way to do it, and it wasn't the way I was taught to do it. This is about the people. But also I've worked in organizations and certain industries where there is a high threshold for change. It's just that the maturity isn't there. And a lot of the times you can hear changers say, there's too much going on, it's too much change. But the reality is that people are kind of used to it. And so for them, it's more that, finally I get a heads up that this is happening like a week beforehand. Normally I wouldn't even know. That is the type of context that you could be delivering the change in. So even though you're not giving a huge amount of lead time, there could be a huge tolerance threshold for it because it's just the way the business has been run. Over time, however, you start to set the precedent that people would get to know about change, obviously, before it lands on them. Then even more and more, you can, what I say is, gain back time in other changes because you'll be able to put together the strategy faster because now you know the audience and you know what works and what doesn't work. And so you get to focus more and more on that, which means that you, even though you're engaged maybe even at the last minute, you can still drag back time, buy yourself time, and be able to communicate earlier. And that's the benefit if you've had the luxury of being in an organisation for a while, is that you will understand the landscape, you know who to go to for what, and you can work that through faster and better. Once you've been in many organisations, when you then go into an organisation, you can ask the right questions and connect the dots faster because many organisations are very similar, but you can also get a sense of where the change maturity is up to. And so you're not going to waste time and energy trying to fight battles that are not worth fighting. So you focus more on, ironically, the people and making sure that you're engaging, giving people the information that they need for the change that they're about to go through as soon as possible. So if you've found that you've been really frustrated as a change practitioner and you might have actually left some roles in a very fast time frame, to reflect on whether you're doing yourself a disservice by being too stuck on the process and too technical versus being able to flex to where the maturity of the organisation is up to and find a middle ground. Build the reputation of change over time by delivering change the best that you can if your timeframes are really short, and then growing and leading from there so that you can be asked for to be on projects or programs because you get things done, and then you can influence more and more and create a positive reputation for change in your organisation, because that's the opportunity that you get by not necessarily being a purist, but by being a great change practitioner who is adaptable to the environments in which you work. So that's today's episode. I hope that you have found this insightful. And as I mentioned, please go to myvirtualchangemanager.com, go and do the Enterprise Change Maturity Assessment, see where the organisation that you're working with or working for is up to, see how that can be developed, adapt to the environment you're in, adapt your approach to that environment and for your stakeholders. Then from there, continuously improve. And every single time you're implementing change, you're improving your approach, you're bringing people along for the journey, you're building trust, hopefully getting better outcomes for the project and program if you're given more time to work on things, and making sure that then, of course, you are contributing to the positive experience of the team members in your organisation. Thanks for listening. If you find that this podcast is interesting, that the things that I cover are helpful for you, certainly please provide a rating, come to myvirtualchangemanager.com, provide me with feedback. I'm on LinkedIn as well. Always great to connect with listeners, and hope you have a great day. And remember that change matters because your people matter.